All right, yeah, here we go. So, Life Unraveled Podcast, Episode 1, Dr. Jesse Weiss in the house,
Well,
literally.
thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've been talking to you about it for like a year, it seems
Yeah,
like.
it's been in the works. You've been planning it for a while, and now we're in the pod. Does the podcast center have have a name, like the
No.
Bat Cave or something? You're gonna have to come up with
Like a lair.
like a
It's
lair?
very lair-esque, dark.
It's
in here.
dark. Some lamps.
Yeah, I'm gonna do like see, Nick is making me a big banner right behind you that's got looks like a brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna have pictures down the center, like all these different pictures, kind of starting post World War II, like older Einstein. I've got all these black and white images all the way to like Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
So I am excited about doing that, but that's gonna be kind of the last piece. And I'm thinking I'm gonna put like some LED kind of Christmas lights down along the bottom for a little more low light from the floor to kind of match my lanterns here.
Mm-hmm.
But lighting, that's kind of the last thing I'm playing with. But I got that Dirty Santa right there.
Yeah.
Salt lamp. Yeah.
I got we did Dirty Santa at my house too. Ended up getting first thing I got was a pasta cooking set, which was not so awesome, but someone stole that from me. So I ended up with a National Parks picture book.
Hey, there you go.
Right down my alley.
Exactly.
As if they bought it from me. I felt like my gifts that I got were pretty cool though. I got one of them was a old school like a movie theater billboard that lights up, and then you put the lettering on it. You put on your desk, and then the other one was a set of hand towels that says "I love you" on one side, and the other side it says "I know." So it's very
there you
Star
go.
Wars.
There you go. Yeah, nice. That's very nice. I gotta admit.
I kind of wanted to keep them.
Yeah, like I almost scored a mag light, and then I was like, well, I'm glad I got this. Like Cora got me 2 of the salt lamps, and she ended up putting one of them in there. It's like, you don't need 2.
So is that like aromatherapy? Is that what salt lamps are about?
Yes, I read that on the box, something about the positive ions charging the air and antimicrobial
Okay.
sort of thing. So since we're both getting over the flu, it's got to be healthy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very healthy environment.
Yeah.
And we got the chessboard.
I know, man. Cool story about that. My buddy Derek, who recorded the podcast lead in, he came over one night. It's like on the other side of the hall. I've got like a music studio.
Nice.
So he came in, we hooked up. I've got like a little device to turn my mixer over there into USB. This podcast mixer is a USB mixer. So I can just plug it in, and it's good to go. Like this gold cable right here. Boom. But over there, I have to have like a little converter box. But we hooked it up in like a couple hours of recording, and like that's what I've got to get lined out in the template a little better. It's like once I get my final logos, bam, we're good. On audio, it's not that big of a deal, but like on the YouTube lead-in, it's going to be animated at the beginning, and then I got like an outro for it as well. So it's kind of like a pick scratch on the guitar.
Yeah.
Unraveling.
How long have you been playing the guitar?
Man. I started playing the bass in junior high school.
Slap at the bass.
Slap at the bass, man. Junior high school. So like I had a little Squier P bass, like a little Fender knockoff. And I got it in like 7th or 8th grade, and then I started playing in the church band back when you were like dad of the universe. And
The youngest dad in the whole
yeah,
place.
I know. I was like, yeah, this guy with the hair. Yeah, that was so funny when you started coming in the gym. I'm like, this dude
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the old memories of Steel Trap. Just remembering back in the 90s, I believe it was, maybe early 2000s.
This is the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I was still in Utah in the 90s.
I was definitely, I guess I would have been a teenager. Utah, so yeah, that's totally. So where exactly did you go to college at? What was the name of the university?
Utah State University is where I got my PhD in Logan, Utah. It's up in the panhandle of Utah. And so the funny story about that is I had 2 opportunities when I left Arkansas. So I had an appointment with the AmeriCorps in Montana for a 6-month appointment. And then I got this fellowship at Utah State University and ended up going out west to Utah State. I moved out there. I fit everything that I had in my Jeep. Went up and got to Logan, didn't have a place to live. I lived in the National Forest for a week. So I just kind of camped in a different place every night and went into the town during the day to try to find a place to live. And then we lived there. I lived there for 4 years, and met my wife, had a first child. So when we moved back to Arkansas, I had a giant U-Haul. I had my Jeep. I had another car. I had another trailer. So you accumulate stuff when you start accumulating people. But yeah, it was cool to do that. I don't know that I would do that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting now that I'm going to be teaching at Morrilton. I have the option to get like half price tuition at U of A, and it's very, very appealing to me because I always wanted to get my PhD ever since I realized that teaching high school wasn't going to bear the fruits of any academic freedom.
No, that's pretty much that's the kind of paint by numbers teaching a little bit.
Teaching at the community college might bear the equal amount. I just feel like I don't have to do the lesson plans. So, I mean, I'm going to do lesson plans, but it's more like word notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, I actually have in-service like next Thursday, I believe. I have to go hang out with all the other teachers.
So you gonna maintain the man bun at the JC?
I would really like to. I feel like they hired me with the man bun.
So you got to stick with it.
Yeah, but I did shave the beard at the beginning. I'm planning on growing that way out right now.
Okay.
So just like if it would be touching this pop filter right there. But who knows? Like there's a professor out there. I don't know. He's been there for a long time, and the rumor is that he might be kind of like wrapping things up a little bit over the next couple of semesters. So I'm hoping that I can teach a few more classes starting, 2018.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, because they bring me in January, so I was happy as like I didn't know if that would affect me getting in to work. It being the middle of the year, cut off the semesters if they like to hire people during the summer. But
yeah, it just kind of depends. My experience has been that just as needed. I've never actually done any hiring of any adjuncts, but
yeah, does U of O carry a big adjunct staff?
Yeah, they do. We grew a lot the last couple of years, and they've been kind of handling that with adjuncts, but they're hiring a bunch of faculty. In the process of hiring a bunch of faculty right now.
I never I could probably check into getting on there. I just never thought about it. It's my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same drive. And then I met an adjunct the other day that's adjuncting at Tech Ozark, UACCM, and U of O.
Who is it?
So I forget. Somebody was they introduced me to him. They're like, oh, this person, they work at all three. And I was like, oh, cool. So I want to say it was when I was at Morrilton doing the last bit of my paperwork, get my little name badge.
Nice.
Yeah, it's official.
All official.
Yeah. So Star Wars Last Jedi, man.
Star Wars Last Jedi.
Did you get a chance to watch the Kevin Smith review?
I did not. I usually respect Kevin Smith a lot, but I've just been I had such a kind of a strong response to The Last Jedi that I've been kind of putting it off. So what did he have to say?
Well, it was a really great review. It was an hour and a half, and he like typed up like 9 pages of notes, double spaced.
Okay.
He reiterated, but dude, what was so funny is like 3 different times in it, and then he's like, and then I'm gonna cry right now. Like he would get to a point where it's like he's talking about Yoda meeting Luke and just different things. Spoiler alert. And
probably need to do the spoiler.
Yeah, we'll put it in the caption. But there was this 3 different parts, like Luke going onto the Falcon and stuff, where he was like, "Oh, I'm just talking about Star Wars for 40 years."
There were several moments that were like that, but then so in my mind there were 9 moments that I just absolutely hated.
Really?
Yes.
So before we go on that trail, what would you give the movie?
Like if I was grading it
out of 10?
Out of 10.
Rotten Tomatoes, Jesse Weiss.
So I often think of things in as a teacher and like grading letter grades. And so when I first watched it, I was like, this is a B- C+ movie. And then I went and saw it again yesterday, and it's a solid B movie.
Okay.
I just to give you a little context. So I've seen every single Star Wars movie in the theater from the time I was a little boy in 1977,
which I cannot say that,
all the way through.
How old were you when the first one?
I was born in 1976. So my parents took me to see it because it stayed in the theater for years. So they took me to see it when I was 3.
So you're genetic at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's like I had all the little action figures. I still have a lot of action figures.
Were there any like of the old school Star Wars action figures in that haul I found for you? None.
I think there was one Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I've got man. I'm still panning through that stuff.
Yeah,
because there's definitely some more. I had 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so
I had all of them up until Return of the Jedi, every single one of them. And in the mid '90s, when I moved out of my parents' house, they had a garage sale and they sold all of them for like $0.25 a piece. So there's somebody in Northwest Arkansas who has my entire Star Wars collection,
man,
and I don't.
That's rough.
I know. I've been trying to kind of recreate that through my own collecting. But yeah, so the context is like I'm a huge Star Wars fan from way back.
Huge.
But I had some mixed reviews with the new trilogy. So if I was to put them in order, some of my least favorite movies are in episode 1, 2, and 3.
Which it's remarkable to me. So that's so I'm 30. So that's what came out. Like when I was probably, how old? I guess I was 12, 13, going on like my teenage years. They re-released A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the
theaters.
Jedi. And I remember going to see those at Pickwood before they like remodeled the theater here in town. And it was like the digital remastered version, and it had like the new scenes with like Han.
The one that George Lucas ruined.
Yeah. Which like it's interesting. It's like so many fans like that preceded me were like, so that was my first real introduction. Yeah. So like when I'm probably around 8 years old, they start coming out with more action figures and stuff. I might have been a little older than that, but then next thing you know, they're doing the re-release, and I did watch all 3 of those. So then next thing you know, it's like, hey, we're going to give you episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Which I was like at the time super into, but like going back and watching now, like I like the story in a nutshell, but like there's a lot of things about it I don't like too. But it was like that was the trilogy of my generation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I've always had a problem with like how much CG. Like I liked on Last Jedi how they didn't do as much like CGI reliance. Other than like space
practical effects.
Yeah, I mean, it
like
was
they
really
did in the original.
Closer to the remaster of the A New Hope through Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But
so, did you ever live in a world where Han shot first? Or have you only seen movies where it's Greedo?
Ooh. I think I've only seen movies where it's Greedo.
Really? See, yeah, that's so in the original one, Han Solo shoots Greedo before he has a chance to shoot him. And then when they went back and they remastered the original trilogy to re-release it in the theaters, he changed it. George Lucas changed it, and Greedo shot first, and then Han Solo shot him after that. And so that's always been a sticking point. It's a sticking point for Star Wars fans.
See, like right after that, like when Han's like loading onto the Falcon and Jabba rolls up, and
that was never in the original.
Yeah. See, excuse me. Maybe I have seen the one. I would have to go back.
It's hard to get them now. The only original ones you can see anymore, the VHS, are the original.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I used to have those too, but those got lost in the move from Utah.
See, everybody has something to say. Like the old school fans have something to say about the end of Return of the Jedi too. How like I guess at one point they implemented Qui-Gon into the lineup of Force. Like silhouettes at the end.
Yeah, and also they had the new Anakin.
Yeah. See, that seems to be a big point of divisiveness too. Is like not a lot of people like Hayden Christensen.
He was bad. I like to call him Wanakin because in episode 2 he's just so whining. I actually on YouTube not too long ago there was a version of the new trilogy that took out the entire love story, and it was so much better.
Interesting. You'll have to send me a link to that.
I'll have to see if I find it.
Have you seen the Star Wars fan movie?
No, I haven't.
So that's I was trying to watch it the other day, but apparently this Star Wars fan movie is called like a smuggler's story or smuggler's tale or something like that. And the guy that made it was trying, I think at one point, to get the role of in the new Han Solo movie, but everybody loves this fan movie. Like I remember it came out, this dude did it all. It came out a couple years ago, did it all himself, and it's apparently like super legit.
I've seen the Darth Maul fan movie.
Oh,
and it's pretty
really?
cool. They have some really nice fight scenes.
So let me ask you, like, one other point of divisiveness that while we're on older movies that seems to be several fans have something to say about this. And my buddy Bob has something to say about this. Is he accepts all of the canon that was written in the books between, I don't know, the original release of A New Hope on, or when they did the remaster to now, but there's all these fan books that
Yeah.
were written that go like 10,000 years before Luke and Leia up to 100 years after. So he's like, well, they didn't use any of the after Luke and Leia stuff. They went with this whole new storyline. And that's like there's a lot of people upset about that.
Well, there's the what's called the Thrawn trilogy, which is the books that came out by a author named Timothy Zahn. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Zhan.
See, I've been wanting to get into some of these books.
So I have the graphic novelization of that, and so it follows the storyline of what happens after Return of the Jedi. And there was a book series. There were 3 of them, and that was was assumed to be the sequel that they were gonna make. And so it centers around this blue imperial officer, General Thrawn or Admiral Thrawn, and he's a really good character. He's such a good character that they brought him back and they put him in the Star Wars Rebels TV series.
Yeah, how is that?
I haven't seen Rebels. I've watched the Clone Wars, so I've seen all of those.
So is Rebels animated or
Yeah,
not? Okay.
It is, but it's pretty good. And they bring back some characters. They bring back Obi-Wan. They bring back Darth Maul doesn't die, so he comes back.
So that's a conspiracy too. Like someone was saying that they're like, well, maybe Darth Maul didn't die. I'm like, dude got chopped in half and fell down.
So apparently, the story is that his it missed all of the important organs. Apparently, because
maybe he already had Lobot legs like every other Sith we know.
So what happens is that he's got a brother, and his brother goes and finds him, and he has crafted mechanical legs, and he's kind of nuts from living on this junk planet. And then he kind of gets his brain back, and they decide that they want to go kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so it's on Netflix. You watch it before they take it off.
Oh,
all of the Clone Wars.
Oh, so that's in the Clone Wars.
That's all the Clone Wars, yeah.
Interesting.
And then also he comes back in Star Wars Rebels as well. And there's a new. So Star Wars Rebels takes place after Order 66, right, from Episode 3, when they kill everybody. And
that was rough, man.
Yeah,
like such a sad. And then like when Anakin goes to the temple
and kills the younglings.
Man, if you didn't hate him before, maybe that's why everybody hates him. Other than dude was totally emo.
Yeah,
like I mean, just like dude, your bangs are in your eyes a little too much on this one.
Yeah, I liked Episode 3. My least favorite Star Wars of all time is got to be Attack of the Clones.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
and it's a love story.
It is like, but I will say this: I saw Attack of the Clones in theaters, and I was in like junior high school at the time. And when Yoda,
that's the redeeming thing.
He like walks up on his cane and starts like literally me and my whole 3 or 4 friends with me in a little row, like we've lost our minds. We're like.
And so that movie was like the whole prequels were like that, where there would be like some really great moments that are just like get you choked up, and then there are the ones that are just like why Jar Jar Binks?
Oh yeah, so apparently there's a version on YouTube or somewhere that takes out all the Jar Jar.
He's so bad, just a terrible character. And so I kind of feel like Jar Jar Binks. I feel similar to Jar Jar Binks as I do the Ewoks.
Not a big fan of the Ewoks.
Not a fan of the Ewoks.
Man, the Ewoks when I was a kid were like one of my favorite parts.
That's what it was for, right?
Warwick Davis from Willow.
I know. The thing about the Ewoks is that they're teddy bears.
They're so cute. They worship C-3PO and make him their god.
They do. It was okay. Return of the Jedi was okay. And so I feel like the Force Awakens was so good. Like I had such a strong reaction to that
Force Awakens last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
And I know it's a greatest hits. I know it's like a rehashing of everything. But I loved every second of that movie. And then to end it so strongly like they did with the cliffhanger with Rey handing the lightsaber to Luke, and then it goes to credits, and then the way that this one picks up with what Luke does with a lightsaber.
Dude, I like that. You know,
I hated that.
I see. So I could see Luke being a cynic like that because so while we're on the original trilogy, like, what did Luke ever do? I mean, really, Luke was kind of emo when he's on Dagobah. Like, everything that Yoda teaches him, struggle for him to learn. Even when he's with Obi-Wan and the Falcon and New Hope.
He's definitely not the top student. He would have not been. He would have not been at the Jedi Temple, the A student. He strikes me as a C student.
And I mean, like, I've always kind of wrote that off because it's like, well, you didn't have all that stuff that we saw in episode 1, 2, and 3 to go off of. Mm-hmm. All you have is, he probably didn't even have access to the books until he got to the island.
Right.
Page turners, they are not.
Right.
That was fun.
Dude, and I love the fact, here's one of the things I loved. I love the fact they went back to the puppet Yoda.
See, a lot of people had stuff to say about that, and I like how he's like kicking his feet.
Yeah,
and I like that too.
It's Yoda from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
I was too. I mean, I dug that. That was, I think, one of the parts that Kevin Smith in his review was crying about. He's like,
"Yep."
So that was legit, but like, I don't know, like, I just like, I laughed when Luke just like, he's like, oh, my dad's lightsaber from
that I haven't seen since my hand got cut off at Bespin, Cloud City, and somehow it's here, and I'm gonna throw it over my shoulder in such a nonchalant way. Like, I hated that. That was the second time. Like, the first 30 minutes of Last Jedi was rough for me.
And well, I mean, he said it himself. He can't just take the laser sword and go restore balance.
No, you can't. You can't take the laser sword.
Like, he called it a laser sword. That was funny, though. Like, and everybody's calling it that now.
Yeah. Well, that's what they called it originally, right? In the original. So it definitely called back to some of the original ones. But they crushed all of. I mean, it was obvious that the director wanted to just basically crap all over everything that came before, so he can move forward to whatever's coming next, which is fine.
So what do you think about that? Because he's not going to be a part of what happens.
That makes me happy. I'm glad that it's in J.J. Abrams.
Why did he not do the second one? Was it schedule conflict? Did they want to do 3 directors for?
It was supposed to be 3 different directors, and there were supposed to be these 2 guys or 1 guy that was supposed to do the third one, and he got fired or got kicked off it or something like that. And so J.J. Abrams took it over. I think after what happened with the Han Solo movie, where they lost their directors, and then Ron Howard had to come in to save it.
Which, good job on picking Ron Howard for Opie Taylor.
Right. He's a good director. I like his movies.
I do. Hey, have you been charting like this masterclass stuff they're offering with all these like different directors and stand-up comics? Like, you can do like it's like $100 or something. You can do a 15 lesson course with like Martin Scorsese, Ron Howard, etc. Thought about doing it just to like see what it's like. It's so cheap.
Yeah.
Like, plus I'm a big Scorsese fan. I'm a big Ron Howard fan. I would see what they had to say about frames.
What's your favorite Ron Howard movie that he directed?
Man,
dude, so I'm not a huge fan of the Da Vinci Code movies.
Yeah, the first one I was, and I couldn't get into the second or third one. I didn't even know there was a third one for a long time. What's that one called?
The Da Vinci Code 3 Quest for More Money.
See, that's diminishing returns for me as well at that point.
Have you seen Far and Away with Tom Cruise?
Oh yeah, Nicole Kidman. I saw that when I was a kid.
I'm a closet Tom Cruise fan. Ooh. We did this on my radio show not too long ago.
It's very tiny, man.
Yeah, so we went through his IMDb page, and I like most of the movies that he's in.
He has been in a lot of classics. And in all fairness, a lot of those that I would consider good were pre-Scientology.
Yeah. Have you seen...
that is the hardest thing for me to get over. Like, you remember the Mission Impossible 2 interviews?
Yeah.
Like, but it's only hard to get over because I've seen him be kind of douchey about it and like where he thinks he is in the hierarchy of that religion.
Well, I think he is, right?
Yeah, like there's somebody was saying some quote where he was freaking out and he's like, there's David Miscavige, there's LRH, there's DOB, which is the director of the board, David Miscavige, and there's me. Like he sees himself as like the third guy of Scientology behind the guy who has gone on to the other great planet in the Xenu sky,
right?
Intergalactic Overlord.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it's an interesting religion.
Do you think if we post this, Scientology's going to start following us?
Maybe that would be some good publicity. There's no publicity like, bad publicity.
Yeah, we're going to be squirrel busted.
Maybe
that's what they call them. Squirrel busted is going to come out here and like be posted up in my driveway when we're doing podcasts.
That reminds me of. Did you ever watch the HBO series The Leftovers?
No.
So that's an interesting series. Real bummer. It's not uplifting in any way, shape, or form. It has what's Jennifer Aniston's husband's name? He was in Star Wars as the master hacker guy with the flower.
Benicio del Toro?
No. Justin Theroux.
Oh, Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux. He's in it. So basically, the premise is that in this particular time and this particular year, a third of the world's population disappears for no reason. They're just gone.
Wait, and what is the name of this movie?
It's called The Leftovers. It's a series.
It's a series.
It's on HBO. I think there are 4 seasons. And so the people that are left over are trying to figure out what's going on. So as a result of this, there are all these crazy cults that pop up. And like some people think it was the rapture, other people think that it was aliens, and so the brilliant move of the writers is that they never tell you why everybody disappeared. Because
it's kind of like the premise of that show, The 4400, that came out when I was a kid.
I never saw that.
I never got into it either, but it's like everybody. So do people start coming back?
Nope, nobody comes back. But it's called The Leftovers because it's how everybody deals with it, and everybody's damaged. And so there's this cult of people that they want, like everybody wants to move on, but there's this whole cult of believers that think that that the reason why they were left over is because they're sinful, and so they should remember. And so what they do is they dress in all white. They smoke cigarettes and they go and stand outside of people's houses and just stare at them because they're wanting them to remember what happened instead of trying to forget and move on. And the whole premise of this is that Justin Theroux's character and then his wife is one of the leftovers, and she joins that cult. And so she is there's this dynamic of her not talking and then him being the cop of this town and having to raise his kids by himself. And it's a real bummer. Like you can maybe watch 2 of those.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it still coming on? Or they
I think they just released the last season this year.
I love HBO. Like this, like on my buddy Colby and I, we're going to do an audio show every week where all we do is talk about like Game of Thrones season 8 series. You can definitely get in on any of that. But like in YouTube, I'm going to do it like playlists.
Yeah.
To where it's like, Cora's going to do, we're going to do the Netflix originals together, like for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But did you watch that show Dark?
I haven't watched Dark. It's on the list.
Dude. Like it is adult Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like I got to go back and look because I was listening to Tom DeLonge on Joe Rogan. Did you listen to that one?
Not.
It was epic. But he's talking about like that being the way he's trying to get the word out about these technologies, and some of the stuff like it's way out there fantasy world on Dark, but it's also it's plotted around this post Chernobyl nuke plant in Germany.
Okay.
And that's what's causing all the phenomenon, like weird blurbs of energy that happen, and it's out there like a planet, and it's definitely adult Stranger Things. But Tom DeLonge is like, well, you know, this is how I'm getting the word out. I'm making these movies and these books about this technology and da 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 da. And Joe Rogan's like, really, what's funny is he's had other people on that have talked about similar technology, and he's like, yeah, that could totally be a thing. And then like everybody, Joe Rogan included, I felt like was just writing Tom DeLonge off, and I'm like, just like honestly, I felt like it's because he was a rock star.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what's this rock star have to say about anything?
Joe Rogan's usually not like that.
Oh yeah, I know, which was remarkable because like a couple of episodes I saw after that, people were on talking about like weird technologies that could possibly exist and how they would work. And I'm like, Tom DeLonge's talked about the same thing, but the thing with him was, I can't tell you that. There's like somebody made a funny clip where it's like 5 minutes of him being like, well, I can't tell you that. But and he just like all the ways that he said no, I'm not going to tell you. Can't tell you. No, I can't tell you his name. Blah blah blah.
You could pull the whole Tom Cruise and Top Gun. I could tell you, but I have to kill you.
Man, Val Kilmer was such a good looking dude in that movie.
I know.
He's really gone downhill.
Well, yeah, I think probably unsustainable lifestyles and.
Dude, he has like tongue cancer or something right now. So sad. You know, like one of my favorite movies of all time, Val Kilmer, Thunderheart.
Thunderheart's not bad. Have you seen Real Genius?
No, but I'm totally the cover is in my mind. Like I just never watched it. I've charted it.
Good comedy one. Nice role for him. Obviously, you already mentioned Willow, right? Yeah.
So good. So good.
Mad Mardigan. Is his character
Mardigan, yes, man. I grew up on that movie. That was such a great movie. That I remember watching that when I was a kid, and the cartoon version of Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah, the one with the Hobbit or without the actual Lord of the Rings one.
I believe it was the actual Lord of the Rings one.
The Hobbit one I watched all the time with the song that they sang about that.
I remember him getting his finger bit off in the end, so that's got to be Lord of the Rings, right? Or did Bilbo get his?
No, he didn't. Yeah, it was Lord of the Rings. We went through weird periods in my family. So we started off as Catholic, and then my parents left Catholicism and became really Pentecostal. And so when we went through the Pentecostal phase, we were not allowed to listen to secular music. We didn't watch TV, and so that's kind of we had stuff on video cassette, and one of the things we had was the Hobbit movie and the Star Wars movies, and so that's how we kind of got
by.
Yeah,
man. That was one thing. Like my dad was pretty hardcore. Like he was lighter on me than with my sister, but it's like pretty religious guy, and was like super anti-secular music.
Mm-hmm.
This was like any concerts I wanted to go see. Be like, yeah, they're kind of a Christian band, It's like, and it really eased up by the time I was, I got the first concert I went to see, bro. And don't you think that I spun it that way in 8th grade when I was like 13 or 14? Funny. Me and Chris Marcoletti went to see Creed in concert, and he got sick and threw up.
That's not good, man. First concert I went to see was, you remember Carmen?
Like, where in the world is Carmen
No,
San Diego? I know exactly who you're talking about, dude. The Christian dude who did like some sketch comedy and stuff too. Yeah. I can't think of any names of his songs off the top of my head.
It was the Champion tour. Yep.
Back in, so like that. And then like my sister, like said, she got it worse off than me. She would listen to like Michael W. Smith. Amy Grant.
And then when Amy Grant's secular album came out, you could like toe the line.
Are you talking about back when she cheated on her husband with Vince Gill?
That's right.
Who was in the movie Maverick with Mel Gibson?
Was he really?
Oh yeah, bro. I'm pretty sure.
That was back before Mel became pretty socially unacceptable. Yeah. Now he's kind of back.
Yeah, people forget about that anti-Semitism.
What?
and the domestic abuse, apparently.
Yeah, and the substance abuse and the womanizing.
Well, that was why. It had to be the drugs. We forgive you, Mel.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, back on Star Wars.
Yeah, we kind of
see. This is the great part about that. I can already tell you this is going to be like my favorite part about podcasting is like just getting off on all these side tangents because like that's what I want to do. Like, man, that's conversation. I've had some of the funnest conversations with people, and like the last 3 months, I'm like, don't talk about this. Why aren't we recording this? And it's because it's.
So, do you want to hear my 9 parts that I just
break
hated?
it down?
Okay,
like I think we left off at laser sword.
All right, so the movie starts. You get the scroll, and then you have the space battle. The first part that I really hated was Poe Dameron, like, punking. I don't know. Hux?
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I didn't look this up, but is Hux a Weasley brother?
He's not a Weasley brother. He just has red hair.
Somebody was calling him a Weasley brother, and I was like, was he really in Harry Potter?
I feel like that's some anti-Ginger sentiment.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that too. I was like, I got to look this up. But I thought that was kind of funny. But then too, I was remarking in my head about how everybody's been ripping and on the new Han Solo movie about it being too funny. But there's so many just one-liners and zingers in Last Jedi, and that's kind of how they open the door.
They open the door with it, and I'm okay with some of those one-liners, right? And I know what they were trying to do with the character, but I absolutely hated that moment. Like, it was the "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?"
Holding for Admiral Hux.
That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. Okay, so that's the first moment I hated. After that, the bombing scene's pretty good. It's a great space battle.
The space drifting of the X-Wing, post-space drifting, where he's like, I thought that was sick.
I'm even okay with that, right?
Yeah, we'll see, like Kevin Smith's like, I've never seen that before in a Star Wars movie, and I was like, me either. Dude.
They did some new things. They brought out some new ships. Those bombing ships were super cool.
Those were interesting.
Although I had to ask some technology, like physics questions, like if you're bombing someone in 0G, how do the bombs fall?
Yeah,
and then I thought, well, maybe they're magnetized.
That would be interesting. Yeah, we definitely need some further explanation.
I need some more explanation as to how the bombs actually fell if they're in 0G.
Yeah,
maybe the ship is big enough that it created its own gravity.
Well, here's like how I felt about that. So what was the little girl? What was her name?
Rose.
Rose was the Asian girl whose sister died.
Yeah, Rose.
So my thing with that was while we're get that and the Leia thing. Like
her floating in space.
How are you guys not like freezing to death like this,
I know.
like American space?
I know.
In Hollywood American space, you freeze to death in space.
Well, apparently not if you're force sensitive.
So yeah, okay.
I don't know. I didn't like that moment either.
Yeah, because she's just like, oh, I can see down into outer space in this little bomber, and it's like you're not, like why aren't you wearing like a Neil Armstrong get up or whatever?
Yeah.
Why aren't you in that tiny little with the thin separation aluminum foil?
I don't know.
But I'd had a problem with that. I'm like, so the laws of space, whatever they are, that I don't pretend to understand them, it's not the same in Star Wars.
No, and not in the Star Wars. Well, there's not supposed to be explosions in space either. So I
had a problem with it when Luke was hanging out of the Cloud City. I'm like, is this an atmosphere? Are you in
there
space
must be
right
an atmosphere.
now?
So there's some at least some precedence for that. So I didn't like that moment at all. Second moment was Luke throwing away the lightsaber. When I saw that, I was like, oh no, this is going in a bad direction.
This isn't the Lucas of my childhood.
It's not. I mean, I felt like Rian Johnson, the director and writer, wanted to just crap all over everything. I mean, he killed.
So he wrote it.
He did.
Interesting.
And the only thing that he's ever done, I looked it up. He did that movie Looper.
Yeah. Kevin Smith was talking about that. Apparently, Kevin Smith has worked with Ryan Wilson, or has had him on his show, or been on a show with him, or something.
He did a bunch of TV stuff.
Yeah,
which is, I'm not pooping on that. TV's good. We're in the golden age of TV right now. I just, you take someone like Luke Skywalker, and they talk about it later on in the movie where he's like, I became a legend, and I'm not a legend. I get that, but they just took a lot of liberties. There was no place in the entire original trilogy where Luke Skywalker is the comic relief.
Yeah. What? True that. What did you think about Mark Hamill coming out and saying that like locally against it? He said he came out. I read something that said he regretted saying that.
Yeah.
But where you at on that?
I agree with him. Right. I mean, he got a good payday, and he had to do it as director. And he's basically, what he's doing is he's protecting his legacy. He's distancing himself because he's given the performance, right?
Yeah.
So I hated that moment too. I hated it.
I laughed about that. I thought that was funny.
Where he's just messing
like,
with her. Yeah.
I feel it. That's the Force.
Yeah. I hated that moment too. I hated the milking scene.
Oh yeah, where he drinks the milk.
What is that? And then he's got this look on his face like,
yeah, he's like, oh, I'm simple now. Look at me. I drink milk from the
and then he goes
the
and
weird sea creature.
He fishes. In the worst place in the entire island, fish, right? I don't know. I didn't like that moment. I really, really didn't like the interaction with Rey and Luke at all. There was nothing there. Like, there was no Yoda. Like there was nothing.
No real Force connection. The only time I think we saw that, and why I was kind of talking to you about like my prediction that they might be brother and sister. Bear with me.
Okay. So you're talking about Kylo-Ren and Rey.
And, Snoke's got them all Force touching each other and, having little Force interactions. Very, very scandalous.
It's Force play.
And made me think that Kylo was trying to like, had an infatuation with her. And then later on when he's like, take my hand,
Yeah.
But, too, you got to admit that the Star Wars universe with George Lucas has a very circular pattern to it. I was just reading an article yesterday. It was talking about how the sequence where they go in and to Jabba in the Return of the Jedi is the same sort of setup that they used on the mission in Episode 1 with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I didn't really get behind what they were saying, but like the whole premise of the article was there's this circular pattern and looping back and playing on the same themes that George Lucas liked to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see that. But when Luke like kicks open the door to that hut and like,
sees them together,
she's reaching out to Kylo. I feel like he had the freak out moment there. And it wasn't just because he sees Kylo-Ren. I felt like it was like, you got to get away from him because
he's your brother.
Yeah, there was something there. And then that's when one of my friends was like, I think they're brother and sister. And I was like, I honestly hadn't thought about it until like 2 days ago.
So he would have to be Han and Leia's daughter?
So, yeah, like what if, yes. And here's another thing, like watching Force Awakens last night. What is the whole Jakku, whatever you want to call it? Like, what is that whole connection there with the old guy in the beginning? It's like, oh, well, who the F are you with the thing that has the map to Luke, and why do you have it on Jakku where this girl is also
So they did a bunch of like different books, like prequel books. And so they talk about him.
So new canon.
There's a ton of that stuff that's coming out. And so they go into a little of that guy's back history. He's like a former resistance guy that was part of the leadership that was ousted. So this was another issue that one of my buddies has with the Force Awakens is like, why, if they won in Return of the Jedi, why are they the resistance? What are they resisting? And so they clear that up in one of the books too, where they talk about the First Order. So the Empire goes away to the outer reaches, and then they kind of regroup, and then they come and they gain some political mobility with the Senate. And then the First Order kind of starts to take over things. And so there's a group within the galactic leadership that Leia is a part of that resists that, and that's where the resistance comes from. And so that guy is he was one of the leaders that was ousted when the First Order came back in. And so when they blew up all those planets, they basically blew up all of the government so that they could take over completely.
So do you have any backstory on Snoke?
No, there's nothing. That was another one of the things that upset me.
I don't even think that dude is dead. Okay, and like, because here's why. Like, if Luke can, like, change his physical appearance in the projection from the island, which I'm going to say, when he was levitating on that rock, I freaked out. I was like, yes! That was like my favorite part of the whole movie.
So did you see that coming at all?
No.
Even though you couldn't see his footprints?
Very observant. No, I did not say, man, I got to go see the movie again. Like, I didn't see it coming at all, but like that, it was just my favorite part. I'm like, and then like, so how he's like able to touch Leia, how he's able to give her the dice, and then how the dice disappear. So like, if that's possible, it's possible Snoke didn't get cut in half.
That's true.
That was a projection of Snoke, and he just let it lay there until after the Imperial Guards. What do you think about that scene where Kylo and Ren are fighting Imperial Guards together?
That was a good scene.
Yeah, that was really good. Sick. Like, I wonder if those are like Sith trained Imperial Guards.
So I think that those guys are the Knights of Ren.
Ooh, interesting.
And so they're the other ones that left with Kylo Ren when they burned down the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, that's those scenes get me excited. Where the flashbacks to the
there were so many good moments, man. Like there were so many good moments.
There was a lot going on with that movie,
and I liked it a lot better the second time I saw it. But these and like these 5 moments with Luke just really brought the grade down for me. Like 3 lessons, we only get 2. Where's the third lesson?
Do you think? Well, maybe the third lesson is projection.
I don't know, but
do you think Luke's? I think Luke's going to be in the third movie.
Of course, he has to be, right? Because Carrie Fisher died.
Yeah, and how are they not going to give us resolution on that?
I don't know, and they're not going to CGI her. See, what I think should have happened is I think that once she passed away, they should have gone in and reshot, and then instead of Vice Admiral Holdo dying, it should have been her.
Okay, so what I thought about this too, like, so I guess she didn't make the jump to light speed before going through the ship.
So she cut him in half while she was jumping through light speed.
So you think that destroyed her ship?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see that, but I was just like, oh yeah, you're just going to be on the other side of the wormhole, still intact. But
you still have matter crashing against matter.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I liked how they did that, and they just like cut it apart.
Yeah. How did you feel about them destroying Luke's lightsaber?
Well, that's okay because I feel like that. I did read a book when I was a kid about Luke putting the lightsaber back together. Mm-hmm. What was that? Probably between Empire Strikes Back and
so yeah, he gets his So he has to. There's a deleted scene in Return of the Jedi. At the beginning of Return of the Jedi, when they're in Tatooine, where he's putting together his green lightsaber, and so that's the last, according to the backstory and everything, that's the last step of becoming a Jedi Master, is constructing your own lightsaber. So they show the last scene of that lightsaber. They show the little crystal that's inside of it, right? And so I think
what are those crystals called? I love how
kyber crystals.
Yeah, I like how they work that into Rogue One.
Yeah.
So what's your take on Rogue One?
I loved Rogue One.
I did too.
But
I'm going to rewatch it next.
It remained true to the Star Wars formula, right? Like there's a formula. It had the right comic relief in the right places, right? So the comic relief is the droid, not Luke Skywalker being a smart ass and
drinking green
milk. God dang, I hated that so much. I was like, and then the look on his face was like, yeah, it tastes good. And he's got it all dripping down his beard. The only part after that, I think after we get into the whole story, because like the first 35 minutes, I was thinking, oh, I hate this movie. I can't believe they ruined Star Wars. And they got progressively better. But when he's fighting Kylo-Ren on the planet, and they're shooting him with the lasers, and then he steps out and he brushes off his shoulder. No,
that didn't seem like a very Luke Skywalker thing to do either. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I fascinated what they did with his character, because I kind of agree with what Mark Hamill was saying. It's like not the Luke of my upbringing either, but at the same time, like the only Luke I ever knew was this kind of young, not like Han Solo like brash character, but like, I mean, like him in A New Hope. Mm-hmm. It's just like, this is a punk teenager, man. Like,
but in Return of the Jedi, he comes into his own, and he's got that, he's got peace about him, and he never said, I don't think he ever said anything sarcastic ever, right?
No, so just to take him, a different aura about him in Return of the Jedi, definitely. It's like a lot of growing up between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I didn't like what they did with the character. I kind of feel what the filmmakers are doing. They're going to take Star Wars. It's no longer going to be a Skywalker story, right? And so
they did say they're trying to get away from that, right?
Well, I mean, they just
tell other stories.
And that's great. But they destroyed everything. I mean, look at the things that they destroyed from the traditional Star Wars, right? They destroy the lightsaber. They character assassinate Luke Skywalker, right? They blow up the X-Wing. I bet we're not going to see another X-Wing.
Okay, so what do you think about the X-Wing in the water?
He crashed it there, and he never...
That was a scathing remark from Kevin Smith. He was like, how are you not going to take that X-Wing out the water? And he's like, before he knew that Luke had projected, he was like, I know that he raised the X-Wing, and he flew there. Yeah. And then he's like, oh.
It's a statement that basically he could leave if he wanted to, because, we saw it in Empire Strikes Back that he can get the X-Wing out of the water. But did you notice that the door on his little shelter was part of the X-wing?
No.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, go back and check that out. When Chewie kicks the door in. And that's another thing. Like, why did they do Chewie that way?
Are you talking about where he's eating the little animal or what?
He's beloved, man. And they make him...
He's vegan in that movie.
He's an afterthought. He's just an afterthought. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he shoots Kylo-Ren in Force Awakens.
Man, I felt the same way. They really didn't. And, like, I wanted them to elaborate more on... Because you know how Luke's like, where's Han?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well... Tell the man where Han is,
right,
and let me see how he reacts.
Yeah, they had nothing there with that at all. Yeah, he was very careless with the icons of Star Wars. I mean, they killed Admiral Akbar for God's sake, you know, and not in a very glorious way. He gets sucked out into space, and because he doesn't have Princess Leia powers, he can't bring himself back in. That was terrible.
Man, I know, and they had the perfect opportunity to just wrap that up right there.
Yeah, could have been great.
I wonder if when they filmed that, like they're already past that scene in the movie, and then Carrie Fisher dies, or like what the deal was. Like, I wonder how much of her part they had filmed when she passed away. Like, I was thinking about that. Like, ever since I saw it, I'm like, because I just like I even made a remark to you. I figured they were going to kill her off in this movie. But they didn't.
I think that the last movie was supposed to be focused on her. Like the first movie was Han Solo, the second movie was Luke Skywalker, and the third one was Princess Leia.
So is the Han Solo story going to be told like before A New Hope or after Return of the Jedi?
I think before A New Hope.
That's kind of the gist I was picking up on too. So that's what kind of makes me like, I'm wondering where they're going to tie in. So if they are trying to tell new stories, and they're trying to get away from the Skywalker sort of era, then that means that Rey is probably not a Skywalker.
Right.
So which means she probably can't be related to Kylo-Ren, but it could also mean that she's a Kenobi. That's another conspiracy theory I've heard a lot about. And then the Kenobi book from the tree.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also they're making a new Kenobi trilogy.
See, that's what makes me think that in itself makes me think she's a.
She hears Obi-Wan Kenobi in Force Awakens when she touches the lightsaber down in the basement.
Yeah,
that's one of the voices.
I've thought about that a lot. I wonder, and so like I feel like this too. We're nice little consumers of this because like they're like, we're gonna give you Force Awakens, then we're gonna give you Rogue One 1 year later.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go watch it around the same time. So I wonder if they're going to wait and hold off. Like I heard that this Han Solo movie is going to come out like sooner, and now I'm hearing that it might be like around December.
Yeah,
like
next year.
Now.
Yeah.
So that's like what they're doing. They're giving us one a year.
Yep.
So in 2 years we'll get the. Is there any title out for the third trilogy in the trilogy?
No, I think that they're getting ready to start filming it.
So, and I wonder if they're going to just immediately start the Kenobi stuff after the third movie comes out. If they're going to start a new trilogy, and that'd be the Kenobi trilogy.
I don't know. You know what I want? I want a live action Star Wars show on Netflix.
You know, weren't they doing that on like NBC for a while or something?
But I think it all fell through. Now that I think that Disney is going to create their own streaming service.
I bet that's why it fell through. Is because Disney bought the rights.
Yeah, and they're going to. I want to see. There have been rumors about like a Boba Fett live action series or a Knights of the Old Republic.
Well, see, so I could see that because you know that they're going to bring the Boba Fett thing in. I feel like on the Han Solo movie.
Yeah, you have to.
So. Which is interesting. I like how they did that to an extent in Attack of the Clones, how they brought Boba Fett and the kid, and how Boba Fett's the person they made the clones after.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fascinating little way to tie it in.
There were some good things in that movie. Just like there were some good things in Last Jedi. But
so back to the crappy things. We've got the space battle comedy. We've got the laser sword toss.
Yeah.
And the green titty milk.
Yep.
What else you had on your list?
Okay, so I talked to you about the brush off after getting blown up. All right.
Yeah.
Really didn't like that at all.
So you're not a fan of the comic relief. You could say.
I like the comic relief. It just needs to be not Luke Skywalker.
What is one bit of comic relief you enjoyed from?
So I liked the I enjoy Finn.
Yeah.
He's good comic relief. You know who I really liked in this? I liked Benicio del Toro's character.
No, right?
I liked
did
him
too. Like, and I didn't really expect him to be in there, and I was like, well, that's a good cameo. Like, that really was a good.
Well, I think
cameo.
he's coming back.
Yeah, I felt like there was more to it there, and I like how he was like this. I think they were commenting on this on Joe Rogan. Did you see the Photoshop they made of Joe Rogan with like they had Brian Callen and Brendan Schwab on? Joe Rogan does an MMA show now, and they made this funny Photoshop of like Joe Rogan's the little Asian girl, and Brian Callen is I forget who Brian Callen was, but Brendan Schwab was Finn.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
I like him as a comic relief. I like BB-8 as comic relief.
I do too. And like, you know, like the droids is a theme. Like, what do you think about that? What do you think about like, oh, okay, well, Anakin made 3PO, and then like how they continued him on, and then like, oh, that was another emotional when like Luke sees R2 and he projects
and they
Leia.
didn't. So is R2 just so old that he can't do anything anymore? He just like hangs out and turns off and turns on periodically. They gave C-3PO something. I hate C-3PO.
Yeah, C-3P bro.
Yeah, he's not so good.
I know. I'm not a big 3PO fan either. I felt like they've kind of milked that, the whole droid thing. Like, I felt like when they brought the droids in episode 1, I was like, why are you doing this? Like, they're just going to last this whole time. And I mean, it kind of makes sense.
They're the thread that ties it all together, right? So this is what I've kind of always thought, that R2-D2, his memory is never wiped. And so he's been there from episode 1 all the way through where we are right now. And so he's the record of it. He knows it all.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That was a nice scene.
I know, man.
And then they ruined it with, watch your language, it's a sacred place. It's like they would have a great moment, like the moment where Luke Skywalker gets gunned down and then he doesn't die and he just steps out and then he's got to brush it off his shoulder.
Yeah, so you're saying the no footprints thing, like there were no red.
No.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Yep.
Nice spot. Did you pick up on that the second time you saw it? Or
Second time.
Okay, yeah. Any other Easter eggs you picked up on seeing it yesterday?
What else did I see yesterday that I didn't see? There was the well, I didn't. So the first time I watched it, I didn't notice that the Jedi books were in the Millennium Falcon.
Ooh, that was the best Easter egg of all. I did notice that one. And 2, more foreshadowing, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the only book I remember seeing was the Kenobi book.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all and Yoda kind of alludes to it when he was like, you know, he basically tells Luke that she has the books. In his backwards speaking kind of way.
I know. I like how he's just like, oh, I'll just burn the tree down for you.
It's not the tree that's important. I really like the direction they took the Force. Like they're getting away from this dark side, light side, good and evil, and they're moving more to this gray
oneness.
Yeah,
everyone.
Yeah. I liked the discussion that they had about, you know, blaming the Jedi for the Sith and that they really screwed up because they were cocky. Because that was definitely in the first trilogy, that was obvious that I always kind of thought that the Jedi were the bad guys.
I could see that, and I've heard conspiracy theories, if you call them that, going into that. It's like, but that's why I like Luke's character made sense to me, that he was wise in that he had picked up on that he had picked up on the vanity, and that like there is no dividing the Force into
the
Jedi get the light side of the Force, the Sith get the dark side. It's like a libertarianism version of the Force.
It's a bit like that. There's this idea in old canon of gray Jedi, and they tend toward the middle.
Well, see, and I guess Luke really became that.
Yeah, that's what he became.
So is in the old canon, is he goes full on dark side, right?
At some point he does. Like there's all kinds of stuff that they do in the like at one point he gets cloned and he has to face his cloned self, and there's he goes to the dark side. He has children and they grow up, and Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, which I'm kind of glad they threw all that crap out and they're doing something different.
Yeah, you know, like I've never been one to like the only canon for me to accept. Like I like that fans come up with stuff.
Mhm.
That's like this Han Solo film. Like that guy's been in a lot of different film projects and was apparently trying to get the spot of the Han Solo the new movie, but didn't. And I like the fan canon, but at the same time, like, who are you? Like, why should I just accept what you have to say about this and not? But I, you know, and then like, why should you accept what Ryan Wilson has to say?
You know, I was listening to a podcast with Kevin Smith on it. It was hosted by Adam Savage from Mythbusters.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
Is it
it's
the
called.
one where they're at the bar?
I don't know where they do it at. He has, it's like just a 30-minute podcast, but he was talking about, Kevin Smith was talking about, he's a big fan of like fan fiction. And I think I disagree with him on the fan fiction stuff.
Yeah, I've never, like, as a matter of fact, when I realized there was all this fan fiction when I was a kid, I was like, well, I want to know what George Lucas has to say about it.
That's right.
But he apparently was open to it and accepted it, but then when it came time to like draw from that, he's like, oh no, Disney's just going to do whatever. And I don't know, like it's weird that they keep it going and that they change. We can even have this conversation.
Well, it's all because of the internet, right? That gives people a venue to do that stuff. You know, that's where the whole 50 Shades of Grey books came from, right?
No,
those were Twilight fan fiction. They were like bondage Twilight fan fiction that ended up morphing into that storyline.
Interesting.
Yeah, took a dark turn, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, so a buddy of mine was making a Facebook status about 50 Shades of Grey last week, and I was like, yeah, dude, I kind of get what you're saying. He's going on, like, he's like, this is conspiracy. So, which I saw your Facebook meme you shared right before you came here. That was hilarious. It's like, bundle up.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. That is so funny, man. Like, he's like tweet denies global warming all the time, and I'm not taking a stance on it here on the air or anything, but like it's hilarious how he's like hey, I'm smarter than all of you.
That's right.
Here's my take. You better bundle up because this is fake news.
It is.
Oh man, it's too funny. And like it's the trillions of dollars.
Damn.
Oh,
we're in a weird time right now with information and where it comes from and who can create it. It'll be interesting to see what effect that the new net neutrality stuff has on the flow of information. It makes me nervous, man.
It makes me nervous too, but I kind of feel like there could be a positive side. So like right now I have some friends like Michael Booty. He's going to be on the podcast. We're going to do one where we break down all the concerts we went to in 2017. And like I went to a couple with him. So, and he went to one that I was at, that he was at, and had way better seats than me. Roger Waters, Tulsa. But
wish I'd have gone to that.
Oh, dude. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get to see anything like that again. Like this is spectacle of like that was better than any version of Pink Floyd I've ever seen. I mean, and that's so like it's a travesty that David Gilmour is not playing, and then also David Gilmour released that Pompeii album or DVD rather. Like right after that, and they played 2/3 the same number of Floyd songs. Breathe. I forget what. I don't think David Gilmour played Dogs, but Roger Waters playing Dogs blew my mind. And he has to have 2 guitar players because he doesn't have David Gilmour, but both the dudes melted my face.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I saw the Rolling Stones.
You saw the Rolling Stones?
I did. I saw them in San Francisco.
I've heard their live is like unlike anything you're ever going to get on an album.
It was really good.
So they have like a whole other dialogue.
It's just really good. It was so good, and every song I sing along with. So we got tickets the day of, and we were 13 rows back from the stage.
Man, so here's my conspiracy on Keith Richards.
Sith?
Well, yes. Yeah, psychic vampire.
Psychic vampire.
So here's the rumor about Keith Richards that, I think we've talked about this, that he has a blood bitch.
Yeah.
So that he's like, and here's the thing I've always heard, and he might just be doing it to like stay rejuvenated or whatever, but that he still does heroin. Like, have you ever seen some of the old like 70s and 80s interviews with Keith Richards where he's just like his teeth are rotting out and he's just like really, really heroined out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're gonna die. Like, you're gonna die. But he's old as dirt.
He is old.
I don't remember how old he is.
He did not stop playing the guitar, man.
I don't think he stopped doing heroin.
They don't stop moving on. I mean, this was like 15 years ago.
Back when the tongue thing was coming out on all the infomercials.
Yeah, so they were, but they were really good. They did a version of "Sympathy for the Devil" that was just amazing. It was so good. And then they did Sheryl Crow opened for him. I'm not a huge Sheryl Crow fan.
Was Kid Rock there?
Kid Rock was not there, but Sheryl Crow and Mick did a duet for Wild Horses. That was super cool.
Nice.
That was awesome.
That's what I always love, like going to a concert. Like when we saw Pearl Jam a couple years ago, Chad Smith, a.k.a. Will Ferrell, from the Chili Peppers, came out and played on the very last song with Pearl Jam, which was "Keep Rockin' in the Free World."
They do that one a lot. Yeah. They had that line of concert albums that they put out on CD back when CDs were still the thing. And they had that.
Who would that's funny. Like in that closet over there, I have like 500 DVDs that like it's digital now.
Yeah.
Like everything I had to turn off my Google Drive when I was booting everything up. It was lagging my computer because I have like 8,000 files on my Google Drive. But everything's on the cloud now.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like
Nothing
every
really
bit of the podcast
anymore.
Is on Google Drive. Like all my folders, every episode that we're gonna do.
It's not real, man. Just ones and zeros.
So you think they're taking that cloud information and creating copies of our minds and stuff?
Could be. That seems like a different podcast.
Definitely. We're definitely going to have to do a totally different podcast on the national park side. We just got to stay on the Star Wars.
That's all right. Star Wars is good, man.
So the brush off, that sucked. What are you, Jay-Z?
Yeah, it's like what I mean. This is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and she's doing. I mean,
that is too new of a cultural reference.
It's too new of a cultural reference. It shouldn't be in there, and it should not be Luke Skywalker that's doing it. If they want to have Poe do it, that's okay.
Yeah. See, that's funny that you didn't like the Poe thing. Like, I thought that was like immediately, like, I was like, that's funny. That's funny. Like,
it wasn't so intentionally funny though. Like
it was. I mean, that's like they opened the whole movie with that.
They opened with a joke. Like, no, you can have jokes.
So it's not a space comedy. It's a space opera.
It is. Well, but I mean, like if you go back to the original Star Wars, right? The guy that he's Poe is the Han Solo, right? He's the roguish guy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's the archetype. And there's this scene where they're breaking into the detention center, and then Han Solo's like, "We're all fine here. How are you?" That was not forced though. Right? Didn't that seem like...
Yeah, dude, I love that. In A New Hope, he's like, "Oh, yes, yes, we're all fine down here. Yeah.
How are you?" And then he shoots it, right?
that
was
classic.
That's good dialogue.
I feel like, too, do you think that a lot of this stuff, like, is them attempting to replicate those moments that fans like identified with? Because I mean, it's not like in all three of the original trilogies. Not there's a ton of funny parts.
Yeah,
but the ones that are true zingers like that.
Yeah,
it's like
and I think I think they replicated those moments really well in the Force Awakens. I think he didn't do as good a job in.
Well, do you
Last
think
Jedi.
That's a direction thing? You think that's a J.J. Abrams?
I think
Ryan
that's
Wilson?
a director thing.
Why did they switch directors? Like now, J.J. Abrams going to do the third one. Like that makes no sense to me. Like I'm that way with bands too. Like if you like swap out your guitar player, I may never listen to you again.
They did that for Empire too, though. So Empire was directed by someone different too.
Yeah, but still, one thing.
And Empire is my favorite Star Wars of all time.
On all of them is George Lucas.
Yeah.
So you hear my dog in there barking.
Uh-huh.
Freaking turd dog.
Yeah, I have
Chocolate lab.
Turd dog too.
Yeah. He's like, well, Cora's in the other room sleeping off her flu or whatever she's got, and he's just like, "Hey, I've been in the studio with you getting stuff ready, and
I can't be
gonna
in there
lock
now.
me out. You're gonna lock me in the other room in the kennel." Yeah. So what beyond the brush off rubbed you the wrong way?
Let's see, what else did I not like? So this hasn't come up at all, and I can't believe that it hasn't. How many times do I have to hear one of those little birds chirp? The porgs.
Oh, you already know the name of them.
Yeah. That's what
Okay,
they are.
so I will say this though.
And let me see.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that kind of it?
Yeah, that's like a sissy version of
Chewbacca.
maybe.
That's what I thought. Like it's like, and they have that whole part in the Millennium Falcon where Chewie does his roar, which is iconic, and then the little stupid bird does the roar.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
See, like, did you think that Chewie was gonna that was like the mom or whatever, the one who's like eating it?
Yeah.
It's like, how could you eat that?
Yeah. Which that didn't even bother me as much.
I thought that was funny.
But the when they were flying and then the bird goes against the window and you see it from the outside, I literally went into GameStop and I saw, I mean, that's such a blatant product placement right there. I literally saw one of those where you could stick it on your window of your car. And I think that's the only reason that they had that scene in the movie, because someone's like, we got this.
I really liked the animals in this one, though.
I did too.
I liked the little horse.
I did too.
Crazy big eared things. I don't remember what those were called. And then like the ice boxes at the end.
That was cool.
I really liked those too.
I didn't hate the porgs, the little birds, but like every time they went to the island, you had to hear one of those things chirp.
Did you like the island natives? I kind of like how they worked that in.
That was one of the other, like when she cuts through the boulder, and then it crushes the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Why do you have to have that scene?
Maybe just to reinforce the island natives, because it showed them once when they're like fixing the window or whatever from
when she shoots.
Yeah. Oh, I was cleaning my blaster and it went off while I was having phone sex with Kylo-Ren.
Yeah. We were having intergalactic sexting.
Snoke's hooking it up for him.
Jeez. And so that's the other thing that was really unclear. So all Snoke wants is to kill Luke Skywalker. Is that all he wants? That's why he connected their brains together?
Well, and how is he going to connect them like that and not know the location of the island?
That's right.
Like I feel like it's like Rey's sending out a signal and he's like, you're right there. But maybe, who knows? Maybe Luke Skywalker's got like a cloak of invisibility over the island. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either. That was probably the only plot hole that I saw. Like that was the plot hole that for me was kind of like, how does that work? That you can read minds. You connected these people's minds together without them even knowing it, and you don't know where Luke Skywalker is yet. And then did he figure out where Luke Skywalker was? And then that's why he wanted her to...
At some point, because I don't know about Snoke, but Kylo was like, I'm going to go to this island and I'm going to... Like, how did Kylo find out?
I don't know.
Because he knew. He did. He made a remark about knowing, about how he's going to go
I feel like there were some things that must have gotten cut out of the movie that... Like, the third lesson had to get cut out of the movie, because why wouldn't he just say 2 lessons?
Well, maybe the third lesson hasn't happened yet.
Maybe not. Maybe it's going to be one of those.
See, do you think
things.
that Luke is going to be able to kind of go back and forth? Or do you because how like the cloak just floats down? It's like, are you dead? Like what?
So he did the Obi-Wan thing where he just fades into the Force, right? And so I think instead of him appearing to Rey, he's gonna be bothering Kylo Ren, because remember he says, if you strike me down in anger, I'll be with you forever, like your father. So I wonder if that's what's going to happen. That would be interesting to see that, because usually you only see the Force ghosts talking to the good guys. He's a bad guy who wanted to kill his mom, who's not a good actress.
I know, man. Like Carrie Fisher. That was one remark. Like I watched Force Awakens last night, and I didn't feel as strongly negative towards her. Maybe rest in peace, because she's no longer here, because she overdosed on heroin and cocaine and crack or whatever she was on the airplane. Like, how are you going to have that cocktail of super, super intense drugs and be 60?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, she probably, I'm going to say, like, maybe she just battled with addiction and, like, relapsed several times, but I think she probably never stopped doing
Probably not.
So
probably not. She had those problems. She had definitely substance abuse problems. And from the autopsy,
what was it? Was it heroin, coke?
It was a bunch. Yeah.
It's like heroin, coke, and something else, like opioids or something.
Yeah,
like
some kind of downer.
Yeah, I was like, man, like you were asking for it.
Yeah, I had to stop taking cold medicine yesterday because I was feeling yucky.
Man, I will say this: like, I haven't over the last 3 or 4 years. I had a surgery 4 years ago, last September, and I since have stopped taking like a lot of like I don't unless I need some Aleve for like my low back or something like reduce a little inflammation. I don't really take anything.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like when I do take, I was taking ibuprofen. I feel like it was working really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I can't take a lot of stuff like that. It either jacks with my stomach or like stops working after a very short while.
Yeah.
So,
What did you have surgery on?
and a hernia repair, man. And
I've had that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What procedure did they go with?
So mine was it was my lower abdomen, a tear in the muscle.
Yeah. See, mine was below the waist, inguinal is what they call it. And dude, hernias are actually like some of the most common things in adult males. And like I had no idea. And since a couple of my friends have had them, that are
they
a little
put a
older
piece
than
of
me.
mesh in there.
That's what they did to me. Well, how do you feel about that? They told you it's the only way to go, right?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. Okay.
Well, this was I had this surgery like 13 years ago.
So here's the thing. Even then, if I'm not mistaken, they can take up your own skin follicles, basically, and grow you a mesh patch out of your own DNA.
Well, they've recalled all those mesh patches now, and I always get little,
Dude, I'm having some weird issues with like nerves in that area. Mm-hmm. It sucks.
Which is a bad place to have nerve issues.
Yeah, and like I actually had a surgery on that location when I was younger. I had a varicose seal. A varicose seal is what they call like a little vein issue. And so that was my second surgery. I used the same exact site. So if I have anything else done, that's three surgeries on the same exact area. And the last procedure was an issue because they were like, oh, there's a lot of scar tissue, blah, blah, blah. And that's probably what I'm having now is scar tissue like getting into my nerves in that spot.
Yeah. Yeah, surgery's no good. I don't want to have any more anymore.
12 staples, and then too, they like afterwards, like I tell people this just like because I was able to get over it, but I got out of the hospital and I had an autoimmune disease. So like I think it's the 2 or 3 things that it could have happened is they gave me so many pain meds. I said 12 staples, and it was a little bit more intense surgery because of the previous one. So I think that possibly because I had so many pain meds, I'd like it offset where I didn't go to the bathroom for like several days. So I think like my gut biome got off somehow and like it changed the bacteria in my whole body or something. So because like I had to take 2 of these like super intense hydros every day just to keep the pain manageable. Like it got to the point where like I was like, you'd see how where people get pneumonia because like I couldn't cough because it's so intense for that first week or so, and my lungs were filling up with fluid. I couldn't clear it out.
That sounds awful.
It was. So that's where I was at for like 2 weeks almost. And then I got this weird like skin issue where it's like 90% of my body when I would work out would like just like it would get these little like psoriasis type things and they would go away and I could treat them and they would go away. But I struggled with this for like 2 years almost. And then one day it just went away. Actually, I was drinking a bunch of herbal teas and but they put me on antibiotics for 6 months of Z-Packs. And then after that, it was like, we'll take penicillin. Like all the way that they were going to get me to do this cancer drug called methotrexate. And I was like, no, I ain't doing that. Like they were going to have me like do all these blood panels. Like they were legit about to put me on cancer meds to try and clear it. And my judo coach, old man Dean, he was like, drink these teas. And it's comfrey teas with red clover, and also took shark cartilage and just did some other like holistic type methods. And
my dad's really big into a lot of the kind of holistic, naturalistic stuff.
If I could get you to look under the table, I'll tell you what else your dad's big into. Circle gaming people. I'm going to circle game your dad next time I see him.
Good luck with that.
I was looking for him at the tournament the other day. I'm like, your dad does a circle game? Like, I'm going to get him. And then I was like, dude, that was a marathon tournament. We walked out here like 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Yeah, so.
It was a long day.
Yeah, it was. And then I was a weird little coaching issue to where like the head ring coordinator was coaching like one of his guys, and his guy got like injured in the match or something. So like, but he had my guy in a triangle, and he let go and was like, like held his groin. And so the ref stops the match, DQs the guy for holding his groin, and raised my guy's hand. And then this head ring coordinator coach starts freaking out. Whoa, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, hey, just get Brandon Quick over here, the tournament owner, one of the tournament owners. He's like, well, we can't get Brandon over here. He's just automatically going to defer to me. And I was like, is that how we do business around here? Just defer to the head ring coordinator guy who's also coaching. Maybe you should go take your suit off if you're going to sit out here and coach. Like, and I was just like, I kind of, but like Brandon got over there, ref was like, here's what happened. And then they were like, no, dude, you can't be holding your groin talking during the middle of a match. And
so was he injured himself, or he was just...
he like had the guy in a triangle, and I guess he like squeezed too hard, and it's like maybe pulled something in his groin or something.
Popped a gnat or something?
Yeah, I don't know. And then like I thought my guy tapped.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, good job. You know, it's like, it was a good little match. They were scrambling before it happened. And like my guy just came up in a triangle, and he's like teenagers too. So, but it was just like, I was kind of put out by the head ring coordinator / ref being like, whoa, the owner's just going to defer to me. It's like, dude, I was at the first one of these organizations. I don't remember you being there, bro. Like, our first AGF.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's what I always say. Like, a lot of people jumped on their bandwagon. It's like, well, and I've been to 20 events and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. My students come first. Even though I like Chris and Brandon, like, if they are going to condone people being shortchanged because of referee or whatever, which they don't, they always fix it. They'll watch video, whatever. It's like, you know, like, my students come first. I don't care that you've been to 20 events. That's a bias. Like, no number. I was like, it's the first AGF ever. No number of AGFs is going to turn me on to being like, oh, AGF over my student.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in almost every tournament, like, something comes up, and I'm like, hey, you need to fix this.
Yeah.
But we always have several people compete as well. I
Yeah.
mean, like, at one of them, we had like 33 people compete. Lots of talking to the owners.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the thing, is like, a lot of times they have like a purple belt ref, and the refs have gotten better over the last couple of years, but they don't live the rules meetings.
There was the first match that my daughter was in, Hayden. There was weird out of bounds rules.
Yes.
Like, if the ponytail got out of bounds, he'd reset them.
Yeah, I know, man. That wears me out too. Like,
but none of the other people were doing that either. So,
well, and I'm still unclear on this, but like, you can't restart them in a submission. So, like, if they go out of bounds in a submission, they restart them standing up in the center and give 2 points to the person that was on top.
See, that's what happened with
Or
the second match.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a submission that the girl had, but he reset him and gave 2 points, and that was the only 2 points of the match.
Interesting. I don't like that rule. And I don't like how they do their advantages either. But I think advantages are fake points. I mean, there's all sorts of little, like, Eddie Bravo and Hickson were on Joe Rogan's podcast, the older episode. They're talking about how Eddie Bravo thinks that holding the sleeves is stalling. And I'm like, now that's an interesting take. Like, I could get behind that, because that's the number one thing that stops progress, is somebody grabbing your sleeves and then pulling with the sleeves and pushing you away at their legs. Like, it creates tension. And there's all these grips you can do. So, yeah.
So Holly, for one of my Christmas presents, she got me the Darth Vader Samurai T-shirt.
Very nice. Somebody got me one of those a while back. Hey, what size shirt you wear?
XL.
Dude, I'm going to see if I can't find that shirt. It was brown, but it was an XL when my students got for me. It's it's a little too big for me. But
I'd like to get one of the G.I. Joe ones, but
dude, we're gonna do another order. What's funny is, like, a bunch of people that didn't pre-order, like, enough people are like, man, you don't have an XL, and I'm like, no, dude, I don't. Are you gonna get the Cobra version or the G.I. Joe version?
I like the G.I. Joe version.
Rise of the Forza.
Yeah, that one's nice.
Yeah, that's like
cool
one of the cool parts about, like, doing what we do and, like, owning my own business. I can take and spin off all my childhood stuff. Like, I don't think you were around when we had the May the Force be with you.
Yeah, I've seen those. Someone has one of those at the gym. So
then another, like, the LDMA, our like head location in Sherwood. They are like, hey, let me get that Yoda. We're gonna do a hoodie too. And then they did a Yoda hoodie as well.
So do you keep all of like one of all of your T-shirt designs?
Yeah, and then most recently, Dean, our judo like he's my coach Caleb who owns Inferno. It's his dad, and he makes quilts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My mom, with all my T-shirts when I was growing up.
Yeah,
gave me a big
apparently
quilt.
it's hard to make a T-shirt quilt.
Yeah,
like because of the stretchy material. But he's got like a whole bunch of my T-shirts, from Inferno T-shirts, Forza T-shirts, and everything. But like right now, I have just a ton of Forza shirts and hoodies, particularly because like just the hoodies alone we've done since I've been in business. Like, because some years we did 2 colors. You know,
hoodies that don't have the zip for me. They're not comfy.
You know, we did. Did you get one of those last year? We did.
I got the black and red one.
Yeah. See, I found mine the other day after we moved, and then like I haven't broke it out yet.
But the ones where you just pull over, they don't fit my body very well.
Yeah. I'm a bigger fan of the zipper hoodie too. Like we're gonna do another one of those. It's also nice. Like I've been getting. We're gonna do caps. We're gonna do like ball hats in 2018. Like it's nice. Like I've been doing a lot more of our own like clothing and branding and stuff than ever. Particularly with like the gis and the rash guards.
Yeah.
So big fan of that.
You're all over the place, man. You are becoming the Joe Rogan of the River Valley.
I know, right? So, you know, that's like the only frustrating part about like living here is that I feel like we're stuck in a bubble to an extent, and like transitioning on like getting my brand out from like just being like an entrepreneur who owns a business in a small Arkansas town to like going to like a broader platform. It's like that's one of the reasons starting the podcast, but I'm trying to shift my brand to that. It's like, here's the thing. It's like, I'm not saying I want to be coaching fighters in the UFC, if that's going to happen, if it's going to be Cora or what it's going to be, but it's like that, you know, that would be an example of moving the brand to more of a like a national level. And that's what I'm trying to do with how we're packaging what we're doing. Like I'm trying to appeal more. It's like I can never market to anybody in the River Valley that does martial arts. I mean, I could, but chances are, if their interest on Facebook is anything to do with martial arts, jiu-jitsu, they're probably training somewhere else. So I market to someone that's already, you know, like the competition essentially. So I'm trying to, with our member site and with the podcast, to like branch out and be like, hey, well, just because you're not here in Arkansas, I'm going to market to you here. It's like with the member site, particularly, that's what I'm trying to do, and I've been building that site for a long time, is take that, get it down, beta test it on our members, and then go broad with it, as like some people I like have done over the years. So, yeah. So you hated the porgs.
I didn't hate the porgs.
They were cute.
They were cute. They were all right.
Like the penguins of the Star Wars universe.
They kind of look like the penguins with the little furry chests. I was okay with it, man. Seeing it the second time made me feel a lot better about it, because I was really bummed when I saw it the first time. Oh my gosh, I didn't like that movie.
You know, which was not an uncommon response. I like how some people were like, sign the petition. This is not a part of the universe. We're not doing it. And then Mark Hamill came out with all the negativity. Yeah. I was like,
so what did you think? You liked it though, right? You're part of the group that was
I liked it, man. I walked out of there, and I mean, I expected there to be a little more, but it's like it's the middle movie of a trilogy. Yeah. There's so much that went on. It's a deep movie.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot going on.
Well, and what wasn't it like 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, it was long.
So there's a lot going on, and like I can only speculate about the third movie, and
which we'll do for the next 2 years.
All the interesting things like J.J. Abrams being the director, and if Luke is going to be back, and at what form he's going to be in. Yeah, super interesting.
Well, we know that the Force ghosts can interact with the real world, because Yoda whacked Luke on the head with
yeah, I know,
and
right?
Called down lightning, which I always thought that was just a bad guy power. Right?
Yes. Yeah, and we're going to definitely see some more of that libertarianism version of the Force. With
it's not either good or bad.
So maybe Rey, like that was one thing I was thinking, if Rey and Kylo are brother and sister, that it could be possible that they were separated because they thought Kylo could have been separated when Kylo freaked out or whatever. I don't know, but like that Luke or Rey would be the light version of Kylo's dark.
Well, you have to have both, right? That's what they were saying the whole time, that you can't have one without the other.
Were they saying that in this movie where they were like, the light version of Kylo or something would rise up to match.
Yeah, that's
like,
what Snoke said, and that Snoke thought it would be Luke Skywalker, but actually it was because Luke Skywalker cut himself off
So
from the
that's
Force.
another thing. Like when I saw Force Awakens, I'm like, well, Rey is Luke's daughter.
Yeah,
That was immediately. I'm like, that's it. It's generational. So they could be cousins. That could be another
reason. Do you wish
why...
that was the case?
I don't know. Kissing cousins.
No, but do you wish that Rey was like had some sort of lineage, or does it make it a better story that she's nobody? Because at the last scene of the movie,
I don't think she can be nobody. I think that Jakku thing and how they set that
that's
up.
BS.
I think that she is definitely plugged into the lineage somehow.
I don't know. I think that they were trying to distance from that whole, because there was a whole speech that was, we have to kill the past, and that's what the whole movie was. And I don't like doing that. I'm a bit nostalgic when it comes to that.
Well, they got to keep making the money, Jesse. They got to make the money.
I wonder if they'll just get to a point where there'll be a Star Wars movie that I just don't go see. I mean, I did not see this on opening day. I mean, I waited almost 2 weeks to see this.
Yeah, likewise. And I'm typically not an opening day guy. It's like remember when we saw Force Awakens at the same time? Did we not?
I think it was.
Or was it Rogue
One?
Yeah, but I don't like the crowds and like being in a room with a bunch of people that are all reacting at the same time, and it just like maybe there were 10 people in the theater when we went to saw it.
Yeah, I like seeing a movie that way, but we saw Force Awakens. I got the early ticket, so we went Thursday night at midnight.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool because there was this energy to it. And
I know, right? Like I've wondered what that would be like, but I've never really saw a movie like that at the premiere. I wanted to see some of the Lord of the Rings movies like that when they came out back in the day, but I was just like, I couldn't ever get tickets. I would go to buy tickets to Clarksville Cinema, and no, we're sold out. You can't see it for 3 more weeks. I tried to buy tickets to Return of the King like 5 times before I got to see it.
Yeah, those were really excellent movies, but those are movies you got to watch at your house because.
What do you think about the Hobbit TV show they're doing, or the Lord of the Rings TV show, one or the other?
I don't know. I think that kind of ship has sailed. I didn't really like the Hobbit movies, the trilogy. I liked the Lord of the Rings movies a lot, but I didn't like the Hobbit movies as much.
I liked them, but that last one, the Battle of the Five Armies, it kind of. But like Return of the King, by the end of it too, like it was good, but they really lost me with the Ghost Army. Yeah, Return of the King. I was just like, oh, what, the Ghost Army just wipes everybody out for you?
Seems convenient.
Yeah, I mean, and just like how they did it, it was like, oh, we got this big green gaseous looking.
Basically, what it is a ghost fart. You're wiped out by a ghost fart.
I know, right? Oh man,
that's just lazy filmmaking. They should.
It's too easy.
Yeah,
that's like I hate it. Like CGI can be used so cleverly and so subtly. It's like everybody's been trying to talk me into doing a green screen in this room, but like I don't. It's too much. Like I feel like I'm gonna light it a little differently in here, a little mo better. Because I still don't know, like, once I put this into the computer, we're going to see how that looks.
Yeah, and plus I'm wearing black, which probably doesn't help on the black background.
Well, and two, you know what? I didn't think about this, but, like, I always watch Joe Rogan and other podcasts. Like, I cast it to my TV, or I watch it on YouTube while I'm driving in the car or whatever. I never listen to the audio version.
But you're just listening to it when you're driving it, right? Not watching it when you're driving.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really do. And I could, I mean, it would be more efficient on my data to listen to the audio. But I never do. And I got to queuing up, like, you watch, like, a live Joe Rogan's podcast. I'll be watching it here at the house or something like that. Tom DeLonge's like 160,000 people watching it at the time that I tuned into the live. Well, there's like 3-4 times that listen to the audio.
Yeah.
And so that's like audience-wise, audio is the bigger market.
That's what I do. I download them on my phone and listen to them when I'm driving back and forth.
Yeah, so I think that like I'm going to perfect the video over time, and probably 6 months down the road I'll start doing a live. But for now, eventually too, I'd like to start doing, there's this thing called a TriCaster, but I'd have to probably have a producer sitting right there. To where I could like the Canon Vixie I went with is cheap enough. I could get a couple more over time, like $1,000 more bucks in this room. Do 2 more cameras, the TriCaster, and like a digital audio recorder. That's going to be the evolution. It's like right now I'm recording with the Mac. I would like to just have this here just to surf the internet or whatever, but like I'm not going to risk that. It's like I haven't done this enough.
Right. You got to focus.
Yeah, but like a digital recorder setting over there will be what I would like to do more than anything.
So what did this room used to be?
Storage? Yeah, that's like, see, we haven't lived in the house for like 6 months.
Okay.
And it's 4 rooms in addition to the big living room, kitchen. I'll kind of walk you around when we get done, like big deck and stuff. And we've been working outside and we remodeled the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, it was kind of hard to commandeer 2 rooms back here. I'm not going to lie. Okay. But Corey gets the bedroom. I stay out of there unless I'm sleeping. You know? There's a bathroom in there. We're remodeling. Like we've primed it, but like we're going to do a completely different sink and cabinet setup, vanity and whatnot. Right now, the cats just use the bathroom in there themselves. The cats won't leave our room because the dog, which we got since we moved here. It's a lot of big changes, but there's an office on the front end of the house. I almost used that for the music room, but I was just like, no, you know what? I'm starting a podcast. This is going to become a studio, and then across the hall is like.
And this is a nice table.
I know, right? Like so much
Where'd
better
you get
than
this table.
The Facebook Marketplace, bro. Yeah, Joe Rogan made his table.
Did he?
I was like, yeah, I really like this table. I'm probably going to put the leaf in it.
Yeah.
Because I've got a leaf that makes it like that much longer. So just kind of take it out more that way. And like originally I was going to put the table in this way. Yeah. Right. But this just seemed to be. And I mean, I might do that on down the line. Like one thing I'm going to do is set the camera up over here and film me against the wall there for like if I do lectures for my history class. So I'm hoping to score some online classes in which I'll spend like my ability to be able to record here at the house to that, whether I'm putting on a blackboard or just making a playlist. One of the first things I wanted to do is I was telling you about that 1968 Unraveled idea I had. So I've got like my first 10 episodes I want to do, and I'm probably going to do solo audio on that. I might have a guest or two, maybe Jeff Woods, his historian friends. But I'm going to start off with like State of the Union. The whole premise on that is like there's a book that I really like called The Year the Dream Died, where it just breaks down all the events. And we're coming up with a 50th anniversary. So it breaks down all of the, like, starting with LBJ's State of the Union address in 68. And just moving out from there because that's where Nixon comes to rise. He gets in the nomination, runs. You got that, what is his name? Wallace, the crazy fearmonger nuke guy.
Yeah.
And then you have LBJ not running for re-election. The riots, the Democratic National Convention, Martin Luther King and RFK are assassinated in 68.
It's a big year.
It is a huge year.
Some great music came out that year.
Yeah, and then the next year you got Woodstock.
Yeah.
And Man on the Moon. You know, if you're into that type of thing.
Yep.
If you believe in that. I'm just saying, look into it.
Okay.
Dude, the Eddie Bravo memes of him being like, look into it, because he gets on Joe Rogan and just like they get to drinking and stuff, and he just gets super intense on flat Earth, and dude, that's like, where else other than a podcast could you get that?
Can't do that, man.
It's freaking hilarious. So, what you got? Any more thoughts on Star Wars, man?
Man, I think we covered the stuff that I didn't like. There were a couple moments at the end when I went and saw it yesterday that were kind of you get a little. Choked up. When he disappears, it's a big moment for me.
Yeah.
I really I liked the scene when he gets into the Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah, that was another one. That was one of Kevin Smith's choke points. Just
yeah.
Like, oh, well, yeah. Say, how did Owen and the kids respond to it?
Owen loved it. So he loved it. So that's their demographic.
See, that's it too. Is like, I wonder how much they're catering to new Star Wars fans.
That's what they're trying
to do,
not
giving
right?
a crap about us.
Yep, they don't care about us.
But they still were able to bring me in because, like, I went
twice.
And I'm going to see it again. But it's like, I don't know. Like, it's harder for me to be critical of it. Like, I'm just now at a point where I can kind of look back at the trilogy that came out in my life and be like, yeah, you know, Hayden Christensen and Jar Jar Binks. Where it's like, I never thought about that when I was watching. I was like, this is the greatest ever. This is my Star Wars, you know? And then, but you stack it up against, and it's just like, I'm constantly reevaluating with each new movie that comes out. I reinterpret the franchise. I'm sure you do too, having seen it all.
Yeah. And a lot. Seen them a lot.
Back when the VHSs were digitally
Be kind, rewind, man.
Yeah. Man, I used to work at movie gallery when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Such a good gig.
Probably checked out some videos when you were working there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was funny. Like I was like 18. I turned 18, so they're like, "Oh, you can close." So I'd be there to like midnight, counting the drawer down and doing all this accounting stuff.
Now it's a
and
pawn
I'm like,
shop.
Yeah, I was the one down by Walmart. I was at the other one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I never went to that one.
Yeah, that one was, but it was good. I enjoyed working there because I was a movie buff at the time. I really enjoy movies. Like all through like getting out of high school and like early into my college until like I got super busy at the gym. It was like I would watch one new movie a week at least. Loved watching movies, and I still do. And now I have a lot more time to do it.
So here's the big question though. So when I was in college, I often had my Friday afternoons off. And so everybody else is in school, people are in classes, and so I'd go see whatever movie came out in the theater by myself.
I've considered starting like a little tradition like that. Honestly.
So have you ever done that?
I mean, no, not yet. Like, but like that's what I was thinking about doing with like I considered going to see Star Wars this morning, but I was off chasing like there's 2 windows behind here, and I had to get blackout curtains for them to just tack them up. Like they're just literally tacked up over the window. Doing its job.
Yeah.
But I had to go chase some of that stuff down and like return. The ones I got were too short, so I had to return them.
Yeah.
Didn't think I had my receipt, but I did. It was in the bag.
See, for me, going to a movie by yourself, that's ideal because you don't have to mess with anybody else. Nobody's going to talk to you. And sit wherever you want. Even if there's one seat, you get the best seat wherever it is.
See, we should, like, if I get a digital audio recorder, I could get set up and just do the podcast in the movie theater.
You could do that, but they might there might be some trademark and copyright stuff.
Somebody was texting me asking me about copyright issues since we've been doing the podcast. Was like, hey, I want to talk about this. And I'm like, but I don't know about copyright issues. I'm like, if this artist has an issue with copyright on, like, we can't even talk about them, like, oh, maybe he was wanting to, he's wanting to paste up some footage. So, yeah, I got to get up on like YouTube copyright laws.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get pulled from YouTube, so I'm really trying to make money on YouTube in the long run, just by views and putting content out.
Yeah. But yeah, check it out. Go. I think it's a good thing going to movies by yourself.
Yeah, and I have the time to do that. Like my Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays are not bad. I'm going to be teaching that class next semester at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, but I'm up at 5. Yeah. So, like, I'm going to do that in the morning time, and then I'm off till I teach the kids class at 4. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up.
All right. Man. So do you have, like, an ending?
I do. I have an outro, gimmick? Like, not really. I don't have sponsors yet, so I don't have to do that. Need to get some sponsors. Like, I'm trying to get sponsored by this thing called Nugsnet. It's like a concert streaming, so I can throw it up and we can listen to music. Uh-huh. That is where I think I can get past some of the copyright issues.
Okay.
But no, like anything I do like that will be pre-recorded. I'm working that into the templates. I have a little scratch outro with some animation I'm working on. All so right. I'm just getting my logos done. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having me on for the very first.
Right on, dude. Good times. Yep. First guest, first podcast in the books. We'll go ahead and just call it good. We'll see you guys later.